stop. Just stop for a second. The most obedient child in the room, the one who never talked back, never caused drama, always made everyone proud, do you know where that child usually ends up? Anxiety medication, a therapist's couch, a relationship they can't leave, a life that looks perfect from the outside and feels like a prison from the inside. And the worst part? Nobody checks on them. Nobody thinks to. Because they've been performing "I'm fine" since they were 6 years old, and they got really, really good at it. I need you to hear this, because what I'm about to tell you is something most people go their entire lives without understanding. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The good child doesn't escape childhood. They survive it, quietly, alone, with a smile on their face. And that survival, it costs them everything. Let me tell you about a girl named Aisha. Ordinary house, ordinary street, ordinary family on paper. Her parents weren't cruel. They weren't monsters. They were just tired. Dad came home exhausted every night. Mom carried the weight of the whole household on her back without ever saying a word about it. And somewhere around age 7 years old, little Aisha figured something out. She figured out that when she was quiet, the house felt safer. When she got good marks, her mom's face relaxed. When she didn't cry, didn't complain, didn't ask for anything, the atmosphere at home stayed calm. And calm felt like love to her. Calm felt like safety. So Aisha made a decision. Not consciously, not deliberately. She was 7. She didn't sit down and think this through. Her nervous system made the decision for her. And the decision was this: I will shrink myself. I will be easy. I will be good. I will make sure nobody ever has to worry about me. And everybody around her clapped. Teachers loved her. Relatives held her up as an example. "Why can't you be more like Aisha?" became a sentence other kids in the family heard regularly. Aisha was the gold standard. Aisha was the dream child. But here's what nobody was asking. Nobody, not one single adult in that child's life, stopped and said, "Aisha, are you okay?" Nobody said, "You don't have to hold all of this." Nobody said, "It's all right to need things. It's all right to take up space." And so Aisha grew up never knowing that she was allowed to. Now, fast forward 20 years. Aisha is 27. She's got a decent job. She's the person all her friends call when they're falling apart. She's always available, always patient, always knows the right thing to say. She's been in a relationship for 3 years with a man who takes far more than he gives. And she stays. She stays because leaving feels selfish. And being selfish is the one thing she was never, ever allowed to be. She can't sleep at night. She overthinks everything. She has this constant low-level hum of anxiety that she's just learned to live with. Like background noise. Like it's just part of who she is. But it's not who she is. It's what happened to her. And this is happening right now. Not in one home, in millions of them. In homes in London and Manchester and Chicago and Houston and everywhere in between. Children who are being quietly, accidentally, lovingly broken by parents who never meant to break them. And here's where the science comes in, because this isn't just a feeling. This isn't just storytelling. This is documented, studied, proven human psychology. Back in the late 1960s, a British psychologist named John Bowlby developed what became one of the most important theories in all of developmental psychology, attachment theory. And what Bowlby found, what he kept finding study after study, was that children are biologically wired to attach to their caregivers. That's not a choice. That's survival. A A child's nervous system literally cannot afford to see the parent as the problem. Because if the parent is the problem, the child is alone. And alone, to a child's brain, is the same as dead. So, what does the child do? The child turns the problem inward. The child thinks, again, not in words, not consciously, but in that deep, wordless way children understand the world. The child thinks, something must be wrong with me. I need to be better. I need to be quieter. I need to be easier to love. And if I'm good enough, maybe then I'll be safe. And they spend the next 30, 40, 50 years of their life still trying to earn that safety. From bosses, from partners, from friends, from everyone. Still auditioning, still performing, still waiting for someone to finally fully love them, and never quite believing it when someone does. Think about someone you know. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a sibling. Maybe, and I say this gently, maybe it's you. The one who's always reliable, always the caretaker, always checking on everyone else, but somehow never letting anyone check on them. The one who says, I'm fine, so automatically, so reflexively, that they don't even notice they're saying it anymore. The one who apologizes when someone bumps into them, who over-explains themselves, who stays quiet in rooms where they have every right to speak. That's not personality. That's a wound wearing a personality's clothes. There was a landmark study, the Harvard Study of Adult Development, the longest-running study on human happiness ever conducted. Over 80 years, thousands of participants. And one of the most consistent, devastating findings was this. People who suppressed their emotional needs in childhood, who learned early to swallow their feelings, to perform wellness, to make themselves convenient, had dramatically worse outcomes in adulthood. Not just worse relationships, worse physical health, higher rates of chronic illness, higher rates of depression and anxiety. Because the body doesn't forget. The body keeps receipts for every feeling that was never allowed to exist. And eventually, it hands you the bill. Let me tell you about another person. A guy named Daniel. Grew up in Birmingham. His dad wasn't abusive, just emotionally absent. The kind of man who showed love through providing, but had no idea how to actually be there. His mom was warm, but overwhelmed. 3 kids, full-time job, not enough hours in the day. And Daniel, from about age 9 or 10, became the easy one. The one who sorted himself out. The one who never needed anything. He did his homework without being told. He got himself up in the morning. He never kicked off, never caused scenes, never made his mom's already hard life any harder. By the time he was in his mid-30s, Daniel was a senior manager at a firm. Organized, competent, the kind of person every workplace needs. He'd been in 4 relationships, and every single one had ended with the woman saying some version of the same thing. I feel like I can't reach you, like there's a wall, like you're here, but you're not really here. And Daniel genuinely didn't understand it. He showed up, didn't he? He was responsible. He didn't cheat, didn't lie, didn't disappear. But showing up and being present, truly, vulnerably, emotionally present, those are 2 completely different things. And Daniel had never learned to be present. Because being present meant feeling things. And feeling things, real things, inconvenient things, needy things, was something Daniel had trained himself out of before he even hit puberty. He had his first panic attack at 36, in a Tesco car park of all places. Nothing dramatic had happened, nothing triggered it. It just arrived, like something that had been waiting very patiently for a very long time, finally stopped waiting. He started therapy a few months later, and in the very first session, his therapist asked him something simple. She said, "What did you need as a child that you didn't get?" And Daniel, this solid, sorted, capable man, just fell apart completely. Because in 36 years, nobody had ever asked him that question. He had spent his entire life managing everyone else's needs. And the idea that his own needs were even worth asking about Anne had genuinely never occurred to him. That's the wound. That specific, particular, invisible wound of the good child. Not dramatic, not cinematic, not the kind of thing that makes it into a crisis line conversation. Just silence, absence. The quiet, consistent message that your needs are secondary, that your value is in your usefulness, that love is something you earn, not something you're given, that the safest version of you is the smallest version of you. And the cruelest part, they were praised for it. They got gold stars for disappearing. They got called so mature and so responsible and such a good kid for doing something that was actually quietly destroying them. A psychologist named Alice Miller, she wrote a book, The Drama of the Gifted Child. And despite that title, she wasn't talking about kids who were academically brilliant. She was talking about emotionally gifted children. Children who were so perceptive, so attuned, so emotionally intelligent that they learned to read their parents like a book. They knew when dad was on the edge. They knew when mom needed peace. They became tiny, expert emotional managers of their entire household. And in doing so, in pouring all of that extraordinary sensitivity outward, they never turned it inward. They never got to ask, what do I feel? What do I need? Who am I when nobody needs me to be anything? And Miller said these children develop what she called a false self, a version of themselves that works for everyone around them. Pleasant, capable, easy, good. And they wear this false self for so long that they lose track of the real one underneath. The real one. The one with wants and anger and fear and hunger and all those inconvenient, messy human things. That one goes quiet. That one learns to wait. That one gets buried so deep that sometimes it takes a breakdown or a divorce or a night at 3 a.m. when everything looks fine and you're lying in the dark and you genuinely, terrifyingly cannot remember the last time you felt like yourself. Sometimes it takes all of that before the real self finally makes itself known. And this shows up in relationships in such specific, recognizable ways. The good child grown up will give and give and give in a relationship until they are completely emptied out, and then somehow find a way to feel guilty that they have nothing left. They will attract people who need saving, not because they're stupid, not because they don't know better, but because chaotic, emotionally unavailable, hard to love people feel familiar. They feel like home. Not because home was good, but because home was what it was, and the nervous system mistakes familiarity for safety. They will stay in situations they should leave because leaving feels selfish, and selfish is the thing they were never, ever allowed to be. They will say yes when they mean no, and then lie awake at night with a quiet resentment they can't fully name, because naming it feels like ingratitude. They will shrink themselves to fit into spaces that were never built for all of who they are, and they will do all of this while smiling, while being the strong one, while making sure everyone around them is okay, because that is the only version of love they ever learned. Love as performance, love as service, love as the careful, constant suppression of self. And here is something that I find both heartbreaking and remarkable at the same time. The good child, the broken adult, is almost always the last person to seek help, because seeking help feels like weakness, because admitting they're not okay feels like failing at the one thing they've always been good at, and because somewhere,
deep down, they're still operating on that original belief. If I need too much, I'll be too much. And if I'm too much, I'll be left. So they hold it together, right up until they can't.
But, and I want you to really hear this, none of this is a life sentence. The brain is not fixed. The patterns are not permanent. Healing is real, and it happens, and it is not as far away as it feels right now. But healing for the good child looks different than healing for anyone else. Because the good child's version of recovery isn't dramatic. It's not a single breakthrough moment. It's 1,000 small, terrifying acts of choosing themselves. It's learning to feel feelings instead of managing everyone else's. It's sitting with discomfort instead of immediately reaching out to fix someone else's. It's saying, I need something, without the sentence collapsing into an apology 3 words later. It's letting someone take care of you, actually letting them, not deflecting, not saying, oh, I'm fine, don't worry about me, but sitting still and letting someone's care actually land. That sounds so simple. For the good child, it is one of the hardest things they will ever do.
It's learning slowly, awkwardly, in ways that feel deeply uncomfortable at first, that your worth is not your output, that you are not a human doing, that you are a human being, and being is enough. That you don't have to earn your place in every room you walk into, that you don't have to make yourself useful to justify your existence, that your needs are not a burden. They are just needs. The same kind every human being on the planet has. The same kind you would never, ever make someone else feel ashamed of. Just yours. Finally, yours. And I want to speak directly to you for a moment. If you've been sitting with this, if something in here has been landing somewhere quiet and specific in your chest, if you've been nodding along and trying not to cry on whatever device you're watching this on right now, I want to say something to you, and I mean every word of it. You were not too much. You were never too much. You were a child who needed to be seen, and the adults around you were too caught up in their own pain and survival to see you properly. They may have loved you deeply. I'm sure most of them did. But love without attunement leaves a mark. And that mark is not your fault. It was never your fault. You were so good. You were so impossibly, heartbreakingly good. And you did not deserve to have to be. Your needs were real then. They are real now. And you are allowed, you have always been allowed, to take up space, to have wants, to say no, to be difficult sometimes, to be human, fully, messily, imperfectly human, without shrinking yourself down to make it easier for everyone around you.
The most radical thing the good child can ever do, the most quietly revolutionary act of their entire life, is to finally choose themselves. Not instead of the people they love, alongside them. To say, I matter here too. My feelings count too. My needs belong in this room too. That's not selfishness. That's wholeness. That's what it looks like when someone who broke themselves quietly, who spent years and years disappearing, finally starts to come home to themselves. And if this reached you today, at this particular moment, I don't think that's accidental. Something brought you here. And I genuinely think, some part of you already knew. Some part of you was known for a long time, sitting in there, patient and quiet the way it always learned to be, just waiting for someone to finally come looking. Today, maybe, is the day you start. If this felt like something, if it made you feel a little less alone in something you've carried quietly for a long time, please subscribe.
Because this is what we do here every single week. We sit with the things that don't get talked about, the wounds that don't show, the pain that wears a smile. And you deserve to feel seen, properly, fully seen, in all of it. You always did.